I'm calling to order the Carver Redevelopment meeting for February 1st, 2022. This is being hosted by Area 58. Sue Hannon will be taking our minutes for us. And we have Alan Germain sitting in, I assume from the FinCom. Paul Kelly is here with us. And our meeting members, Joanna Layton, Pat Maher, Paul Costas, and Savory Moore, as well as your chairman, Sharon Clark. And we will start off where we always do, going with the updates for the Route 44 project. Was there a working group meeting today?
No.
No,
It was
next
not.
week.
It was postponed. Yeah, it was postponed 1 week till next Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Okay.
It was, you want me to just go?
Yeah, just
Okay.
go.
All right. It's been a busy 2 weeks.
Yes.
We've had a number of different meetings with different groups of people regarding different topics. I would think that the one that was probably the top of everyone's list and was very well attended and very informative was a meeting a week and a half ago with all of the emergency service chiefs, the chief of police, the fire chief, the head of EMS, and the head of emergency services, along with three representatives, I'm sorry, from Hillwood, and Owen and Mark from Hillwood's PR firm Consensus. Our consultant, Stephen Cole, was there. Select Board Chairman Mark Townsend was there. Interim Town Administrator Bob Fennessy was there. And via Zoom was the traffic mitigation expert from VHB, the firm that is, they're actually the ones who did all the design planning for the Montello Street realignment. But she was there to talk about traffic, for the potential for traffic at this new facility. And it was a very good meeting. She had a lot of great information. She had done traffic studies, but in her presentation, she presented only the numbers for a morning rush and an evening rush. She did not give a daily count. And she did not have a comparative to where the numbers stand today. So we asked her to go back and put a chart together that showed where we are today, what the expected increase is going to be on a daily basis, and what the total numbers will then be. The short story in that is that they are expecting, based on the facility, they're expecting approximately 400 truck trips a day, based on what they're going to build, what they want to build. And that's pretty much spread out throughout the day. There will be fewer trucks, if any, at night. They are planning to be a 24-hour facility, but it could be that the overnight shift is just coordinating and doing logistics and getting things ready for outbound the following morning. What she spoke about and what was spoke about within the room was the fact that with a larger company coming in and being the tenant, there is a greater possibility that they will have their own fleet of trucks and can therefore have better control over what they demand of their drivers as far as which routes they take to and from the facility. That may not be the same case with inbound traffic, but if they're distributing outbound with their own fleet, they'll have a little bit more sway in what they say.
So Savory, that is as opposed to using independent drivers.
Well, yes. If you get a tenant in there that is not large enough or does not in fact have their own fleet,
Right.
And they're going to be using inbound. They're going to be using independent drivers for both inbound and outbound, and they'll have less control over what those drivers do.
Exactly. Okay.
So that was one of the points that they brought up. And an interesting point that was brought up was the fact that there are a couple of things. Number one, that the numbers came from oh boy, I can remember what this is. The Institute of Traffic Engineering, something like that. It's a national group that runs numbers and does things like this. They're like the trucking industry CDC or EPA or whatever. They look at the size of the facility. They look at the potential tenants, and they come up with numbers. And obviously, it's a ballpark number, but it's based on data from all around the country and the size of the facility. So it's going to be fairly close. What they determined was that the amount of truck traffic that will go in and out of the facility would be the same regardless of the height of the building. So 40 feet or 65 feet makes no difference at all in the amount of traffic. So that was kind of an eye-opener for some people sitting in the room. And then it was brought up that when you have a single tenant that is utilizing the entire space, and they do have 400 trucks going in and out of the place every day, that there's going to be more giving back to the community to alleviate that problem or to try to manage that issue. If in fact this property was sold or was split up to be 10 different distribution centers, each of 180,000 square feet, which would still total 1.8 million, you could have 10 companies in there, and each one of them are going to say, hey, we only get 40 trucks a day out on your roads. We don't have any reason to give you anything back. It's still the same number of trucks, but because it's a smaller companies and more of them, they don't have the perceived need to mitigate the issue because it's not their fault or not their problem.
Savory, if I can jump in on that first meeting we had with them prior to the traffic meeting, which I was not able to attend, the Hillwood people used a term I'd never heard of before, and that was municipal mitigation fee. And that was something that they passed down to their tenants, breaking it down almost to square footage. So that's kind of a way they alleviate impact on the municipality by way of a larger tenant taking a greater interest in where they conduct their business. But it was a phrase I had never heard before.
Yes, and I'm sure that differs whether they become if the tenant becomes the owner or just leases the property, but I'm sure that the dollars are going to be the same.
I think the dollars are going to be the same, and merely the idea, I didn't know that took place in these large distribution warehouses, or if they should, if they don't.
Right, and also the realignment or reformulating of the interchange between 58 and 44 would be handled by a larger tenant as part of their community benefits back to the community. Whereas if you had smaller or lesser tenants, they would not feel it was under their that they would be responsible for doing that. Again, it's not my problem; it's the town's. So if you want to fix that intersection, it's on you guys. So there was a lot of good information. We're waiting for the new chart that will show the daily increase. And we asked them to do a little bit more work on east-west versus north-south travel. And we're expecting that relatively soon, I would think.
Savory, did they have any indications on shift changes and amount of cars?
No, it was brought up, what they did say was that there are other larger type distribution centers nationwide who have gone to a staggered shift situation to eliminate that problem as much as they can.
Okay.
So that, you don't have a so-called rush hour of everybody leaving at once. So a staggered shift is something that certainly would be looked at. Again, these are all things that are really part of the special permit. They, other than the fact that there's going to be the same amount of traffic, whether it's 40 feet or 65 feet, is the only real thing that affects the zoning bylaw change that we're looking for at town meeting.
I do think it's helpful, though, to know that even though the staggered shifts is something that's going to be in the special permitting process, that the public is aware that this is something, this is a tool we have in the planning board tool bag to help mitigate some of that traffic.
It is a tool that we may be able to use based on who the tenant is.
Exactly. The bigger the tenant, the more likely one user is using the entire space, and that is more control over the whole site.
Yes, a single tenant is going to be more willing to give back more to the community to eliminate all of the issues that may be coming down the road.
Right. But rather than, when people are so concerned about the traffic, rather than have people simply say, well, what about the shift changes? One of the things that we can be prepared to say is that exactly what Savory just said, a single user, staggered shifts, instead of 7 to 3, 3 to 11, I forget that, 11 to 7 afterwards. So they stagger them out. But that's also something that comes further down the road, but it's something that we're aware of.
Yes. Yeah. It's not, we haven't ignored it. It is part of the conversation, but again, it's one of those things that will not be known until we know the tenant, and we won't know the tenant until after the vote.
Exactly.
So, we keep going around in that,
I understand, but I know that most of the questions focus on the idea that we already know what's going to be there when we don't. We don't until after, it's one of those issues. And do we have another meeting scheduled with that?
No, we're hear back from the traffic person with the revised presentation that has the daily traffic chart in it, and a couple of other things that were asked for. And I believe that meeting is going to be arranged through the fire chief.
Okay.
I think that he's been taking the control on the meetings involving emergency services. So I believe it was set up that he was going to be in contact with the woman from VHB, and they would set up the next meeting. I think it was supposed to be sometime this week, because they want to have the Hillwood people come back in and be a part of it again, Mac and Todd. So I haven't heard anything. It may not be until next week.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
the storm may have delayed things a day or two.
Yeah, it had an effect on a lot of things. So that's where we stand with that meeting. We also received a draft of the fiscal impact statement. I think it's been shared with everybody on the board. Is that correct, Sharon?
I think, did I send it to everybody? I know I sent it to Stephen Cole first.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
No,
Okay.
I don't think I shared it with the board because I wanted to get a breakdown of it first.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a draft, and a revised one is being worked on right now, which is expected to be available either Thursday or Friday. There was a brief meeting the other day, again with emergency services, to go over the fiscal impact study, and It was not as productive as we may have thought it was going to be going in, because frankly, there was nobody there to explain how the results or how the conclusions were reached. So for most of the people sitting in the room, myself included, it was just a document with a lot of numbers. And in the interim, Hillwood had reached out through their consulting firm to Sharon and me that there was some additional information that they wanted to include in the fiscal impact study, particularly regarding job creation, and that they were working on that and hope to have it ready by the end of this week. And what was suggested to Hillwood through their consulting firm is that when this document is ready, that Hillwood set up a meeting with the Carver emergency services people, the same group that met. It was the 4 chiefs or the 3 chiefs and the emergency services. It was Mike Ryan and Tom Walsh, and Chief Dufley and Chief Weston, and have Judy Barrett, who prepared the fiscal impact statement, have her come and present it so that she can answer the questions that came up, because frankly, no one in the room is ever involved in doing these things for a town, and really there was a lack of understanding of what we were looking at. And so that's the next step for that, getting the revised fiscal impact statement, and then having someone who knows what it is come in and present it. So the people who were in that room can ask the questions that they had that no one could answer this past week.
Okay, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Savory. So this is the infamous Judy financial analysis that we've been waiting for, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then and she didn't even come in to present it. What's the problem with that one?
I don't know if she knew that this meeting was happening.
Wow, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. And
Well, she also works for Hillwood, Pat.
Yeah.
Not for us.
Well, I don't know how much work she's doing for Hillwood, but this is just, of course, I've got this has been irking me for quite some time, and I would think that she would have come in to make the presentation. It's her report, and it couldn't, and now it's already into a revision.
Frankly, I don't even know if Hillwood knew we had this meeting.
Yeah,
this was something I forwarded.
That's fair, but we've been waiting for this. I agree totally with Pat here. We've been waiting for this for an awfully long time, and how are we supposed to
August
speak confidently? Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to speak to it confidently at an important meeting coming up if we don't have the opportunity to hear it?
Well, we also need an ability to peer review it. That was always our big selling point since August. I made a note. I will send it out to you, to the other members who haven't seen it. I actually probably thought I did, but didn't. So that you can see exactly how confusing it is. I did pack it right off to Stephen Cole, thinking that he would have the ability to at least pick it apart, but I haven't heard back from him on that yet either.
Right. At the meeting we had last week with the traffic people, it was mentioned by the Hillwood people that they had the fiscal impact study and that they were ready to share it. And they shared it with me and Bob Fennessy, the interim town administrator. And it was Bob who called together this meeting to go over it. So I don't know if Hillwood was aware we were having a meeting, and I don't know, obviously, if Hillwood wasn't aware, then Judy wasn't going to be aware.
Right.
And I think it was just kind of to look at it and see if we could understand it. And it was clear we couldn't. So now the next step is to involve Hillwood and in turn involve Judy to get her to come in and present it. So, I mean, I think we just lost a little bit of time, a little more time with it, to your point,
yeah.
Pat. But I don't think she was negligent in not being here, because I don't think she knew it was happening.
Okay, but in any regard, she's the one that should be presenting it. And she's the one that should be there in case there's any need for any questions and so forth. So
we know that now, and that point was made to Hillwood today.
okay, because she's like this, one person show in Duxbury that's got a multi-billion-dollar corporation on its knees waiting for her to do something, and whatever she's doing, we don't even know.
Well, Sharon will share the FIS
Okay.
with you, and you can take a look. But again, it's a draft. There's more detailed information that's going to come, and hopefully this.
As everyone knows, I've just been very aggravated about this point since August. Yeah.
I think you're okay in August. I think since September is probably a little better.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand on that. As far as the website is concerned, it's very close to being ready. We had some minor tweaks on the FAQ questions today. And Courtney from Consensus is working with Paul in getting this thing ready. And as far as the videos are concerned, we're doing a 2-minute video to be put on the website, which is sort of like an intro to the website. It's going to talk a little bit about the project, but it's more that this is welcome to the website. This is the place where you're going to be able to find the answers that you need. So I had written a script for it, and then the script was edited to be shorter, because what I wrote was about 4 minutes long, which is too long to be on a website. So it's down to about 2 minutes. And I was speaking with Stephen and the woman, Donna, from PAC TV, who was doing this for us. And we were talking about who should do the voiceover, should it be male or female? And I said that when we could do the longer one, which is going to be presented to the planning board and also maybe taken out on the road to other, like a library meeting or the South Meadow Village, Cranberry Village. I said that we should probably, if we could, do both a male and a female interspersed on the video. But for the short one, I thought that just a male voice would be fine. So I get a text from Donna on Friday saying, "Can you come in Monday and do the voiceover?" So I was at PAC TV yesterday recording the voiceover for our first little video, and that's probably going to be ready early next week to coincide with the launch of the website. We'll get that on there. We'll get that over to you, Paul, and you can and we'll put it right on the homepage, the front page. And there is going to be a meeting with Stephen, the representatives from PAC TV, and hopefully Owen and or Mark from Consensus regarding the second video and whether it should just be a straight video or should be a combination PowerPoint with video embedded in it, where you would talk about something and then you would click to the next page and a video would automatically start with perhaps a spokesman or someone talking about their being in favor of that, as opposed to just having a 4-minute video. So that meeting is on this Thursday.
What time?
11:30. We have 10:30 with Mr. Fennessy, correct?
We have 10:30 with Mr. Fennessy. And then are you heading over to Plymouth?
I'm going right straight from there.
Hey, if I get this brace off by tomorrow, maybe I'll go with you.
Well, if the snow's still on the road, you can put skis on, I'll tell you.
No, nobody wants to see that.
So that's where we are with that.
Now, can I ask you something, Savory?
Yes.
On that PowerPoint-ish, we talked last time about maybe starting to schedule some public, like you said, in the library, just some open meeting. Would this be suitable for that? as kind of an overall intro?
Yes,
Okay,
that's the intent.
because I was thinking that most of our meetings are at night, and maybe if we can do a Saturday at the library, or maybe hit the COA during the days, just for, it's one or two of us, a representative, to kind of answer questions that come off the website without being speculative, that kind of thing. But I wanted to know whether there was a PowerPoint, if that would be what we could use.
Yeah, so the intent is to have it ready for the planning board public hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for March 2nd and 3rd. So that
Right.
would be not only for the planning board for an introduction to them, other than what we talked about, what Paul Costas and I talked about last week, but also for the people in the audience to
Right.
get an overview of what this project is all about. So this is the roadshow video. And
Okay,
then
that's basically what I was asking.
yeah, and then we're probably going to do one more short one to show at town meeting to
Okay.
kind of wrap everything up.
Okay,
On top of that, Paul Costas and I went with Stephen Cole and met with the planning board last week
I saw
just to talk about logistics of moving forward with this, and we talked about setting a date for the public hearing, which Bruce has done in conjunction with Sharon, of having the public hearing on, I believe it's a Tuesday. It's a Wednesday.
no, it's a Wednesday, March 2nd, with a backup day is March 3rd on the Thursday.
Yeah, an overflow day if it
Right.
goes too long on the 2nd.
But I think if they're looking at it as all of the, we might just be able to get ours done on the Tuesday or the Wednesday.
Right.
But they're looking for 2 dates for all of those zoning articles.
Right, and it's going to be at the middle high school auditorium. So
Yeah, I heard that. That's a good idea. So.
Yeah. And we also spoke about the fact that when we do come to town meeting, that the presentation of even though the planning board is the sponsor of the articles, that the Redevelopment Authority, most likely through our consultant, Stephen Cole, would be the ones presenting it, the person presenting it to the audience prior to the vote.
Mhm.
And we're also going to group all of our, right now, each of the amendments is its own vote. And there's talk about maybe grouping them together. And I don't know where I stand on that yet. It's something I
I'd
think we
like
should
them
all.
to be in order, to start with the zoning amendment. And then, the last one's kind of innocuous, just the extra parcel that the Route 44 developer had bought that's highway commercial and needs to be green business park, because I don't know about bundling them all, but at least have them broken up maybe into 1 or 2 small manageable explanation groups that seem to go together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't want us to bundle them all together only to have them broken apart at the meeting and voted on separately. And we don't want one small one like the height of the parking lot lamps to derail the whole thing. So we should, all of us, think about that and come up with arguments one way or the other of what we think that how that should be done. But those are questions we have a little bit of time on to think about.
And do we know when they do finalize the warrant?
I think at about 10 minutes to 6 on April 10th or 12th.
The 12th. As far as the order.
I don't know. I think they printed about 3 weeks prior to the election,
Okay.
the vote, the town meeting.
We can talk to Bob Fennessy when we see him on the ITA with that. So.
You can make adjustments up to the night of the town meeting. All it's etched in stone is the budget has to be 30 days in advance.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it on my end. It's been a little busy.
Yeah, the only other things I mean, we give reports back of the meetings that everyone's attended. It's kind of like this is just a little bit calm before the really big storm. But the meeting on March 2nd, they want a joint meeting, which means we have to have a quorum. So it's a joint meeting with the planning board. So that we'll open the meeting together. We've done this before. We'll open the meeting together and then we will basically probably take over at that point.
Yes.
And handle the questions. And that's probably better anyway. So I have to make sure, I know I'll be there. I'm pretty sure Savory will be there. But I need to make sure there's a quorum there. So it is a Wednesday night. And it's probably only for the one night, I'm pretty sure. Moving into the auditorium was a good idea. I'm trying to think. I haven't been to any meetings without Savory, so anything he reported on, I was there. I think the update of the next thing was the expected time frame for the public hearing. We've taken care of that. There's been some discussion about meeting with the finance committee, but Pat, what do you think about that? I mean, we don't have anything solid to show.
Well, no, and that's what we've talked about before. I talked to Alan a little bit about that week or so ago. Is we really don't. It sounds like things are more information is starting to come in now, and we're talking about numbers of trucks and things like that. We weren't having that before, so hopefully gives us enough time to get this information out. But I think that we do need to have an informational meeting with the finance committee, but we've got to have relevant information and as solid of information as we can.
Would that be something like we're not really privy to talk too much about the mitigation packages that we know about from the meetings we've attended, because they're not finalized yet.
Well, yeah, but that's the type of thing that would be helpful to the finance committee. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about the physical impact study? That should be first and foremost. I mean, give me a break. That's what they should be looking at. There's an advisory committee. What are they talking about mitigation?
We could have Judy come in and do it. Yeah.
Well, they should. They should bring her in.
They should.
Alan, call her in.
We've got to see. And I'm just waiting to see how good this study is, or how well done it is before we go anywhere with it, I think.
All right. Well, I knew this question was going to come up about FinCom, and obviously they have to have a voice in this, or at least a knowledge of what's going on. But another way that I look at it is that if there were no proposed zoning amendments for this, everything we're talking about now would be handled at the special permit process. Well, all we're talking about now for town meeting is voting on the zoning changes. So if those had gone away, most of what we're talking about tonight would not be relevant. All we'd be worried about or working towards was the special permit process that the planning board has to go through. And that's when, under normal circumstances, had there not been zoning changes requested, that's when FinCom would get involved. That's when the fiscal impact study would be done. So a lot of what we're talking about now is not relevant to the zoning change. And the only reason it's being discussed now is because the zoning change has given it a platform. But if these zoning changes weren't asked for, we would not be talking about this right now, at least not through the RDA. This would be a planning board issue and something for their special permit process. So I think we just have to keep the focus on the fact that these are zoning articles and nothing more.
I mean, when this whole process started more than a year ago, I kind of mentally prepared in my head that we needed to get through fire first, and then each little piece of the puzzle would fall into its place based on information that had come beforehand. And, you know, now we might be down to the point where we're getting some financial benefits out of it, but we don't know what it is. So,
Yes,
so
and
as long as we, go ahead.
those benefits would come based on the vote of town meeting. They're not something that we would go into town meeting knowing we had. A mitigation agreement would be probably approved by then, but would be contingent upon the zoning bylaws being passed. So
In the past, Pat, I think Alan left, but in the past,
Alan's
has
here.
okay, Mr. Jermaine, as long as you're there. In the past, has the FinCom ever made any kind of a presentation or offer of support or denial based on speculation?
On any kind of a present development, no. We don't typically get involved in the nuts and bolts of a solar project or a, 5-house subdivision or something like that. This is an exception, I think, to the rule. There's a tremendous amount of ramifications that come along with this. And I mean, you're addressing them, don't get me wrong. If I may have a moment, I think that you're tunnel visioned on the height. I think that town meeting isn't going to care one iota about the height. They're going to be focused on their personal impact, and height has nothing to do with it. Now, I get what you're saying, Savory, about the truck traffic is the same, whether it's 40 feet or 65 feet. And that's the reason why the residents aren't going to care about the height. They're going to care about the truck traffic and the traffic impact. Everybody can relate to, you can't get off 44 at rush hour. Everybody can relate to, you go down the ramp from 44 coming from the east to the west, and you make the right, and you make the U-turn at Aubuchon, and you turn around, you head back the other way because you can't get off the ramp. This is going to be the big focus, and it's only my opinion, of what town meeting is going to be talking about. I don't think you're going to have a challenge with the height. I really don't, because everybody will get the fact, and I personally will be a proponent of it from the standpoint of we have some leverage with the height, as opposed to no leverage if they turn it down and we end up with the same problem.
All right, I only wanted to hear about the FinCom's position, if they had one at this. So the FinCom position would be whether if you had analyzed leverage.
I haven't seen any documents. I haven't seen it. No one sent me anything.
We don't have it yet.
I don't have any. I don't even have speculations. I have rhetoric. I don't have anything. I don't have a traffic study. I don't have a projected tax base. I don't have a projected tax impact on the town. I don't know whether the special permit's going to require that any trucks that are in vehicles that are based in Carver be registered in Carver so we can have an excise tax benefit. I don't know what we're going to do for TIFs. I don't know any of this stuff. So FinCom has no information to weigh in on other than we all understand when the day is all done 3 years from now, it's going to have a tremendous tax advantage to the town. Now, what we choose to do with that money is another story, and how we get there is an even bigger story.
Right, but yeah, in fairness, though, all the things you mentioned have nothing to do with the zoning bylaw change.
But that's what's going to sell it, Savory. You don't understand. It has nothing to do with the zoning bylaw change in your perspective. But the only way you're going to sell this to the town is going to be to alleviate the fear of the traffic. Otherwise, you're not going to sell this. I'm telling you honestly. I know you don't believe me. You don't think I know what I'm talking about. I've been trucking for 40 years. And I thought I was actually part of this conversation tonight from a trucking perspective, not from FinCom.
Sorry, can I say something there? Because I think that there's a weird challenge here. I think you're absolutely correct. I think that the problem is that when you really get down to it, A actually has nothing to do with B. Like, it's coming.
You're right.
In some form or another. And what we have to do is we have to walk this odd line between getting people to feel good about this thing that they will consider to be the challenge. And I can appreciate that.
That's
but
right.
At the end of the day, they could vote it down thinking, hey, if we vote no, that's it, we're good. Well, though the reality is not only are you not good, you've lost your leverage. So
That's correct.
How do we shift that narrative position about that question? Because people are going to vote based on what they think about this. And I know this sounds stupid to say, but this totally unrelated issue, it's going to color their entire opinion about the questions at hand. And we could end up with a bad run at the meeting when in reality, those votes are immaterial to the issues people are actually concerned about.
That's
that
correct.
Ship sailed. How many years ago did that ship sail?
And that's been the crux of our decision all along as to how to keep the focus on the benefits of the zoning change and what could be the mitigated package, which is being negotiated daily virtually, versus a misunderstanding that if you vote it down, it goes away. It doesn't. What goes away is things that they are not being told right now.
What goes away is all the town's leverage. That's what goes away.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then we're left with the burden of all the infrastructure costs with none of the benefits.
That's correct.
That's the bottom line. And that's where FinCom can assist you in this.
I guess my question would be this, like, I think we know what we have to do. And I know, I apologize. I'm covering ground we've covered before. I'm sorry for that. But
No.
what I would say now, though, is like, how do we, because I get that there's an element of uncertainty, not only in some of this traffic stuff and who's going to go in, but there's also an element of uncertainty in like what mitigation the town will receive. Are we allowed to in any way talk about any of that in even a semi-official way, like have some sort of rip sheet that says, hey, if what we could possibly expect with the kind of tenant, the level of tenant that we want to bring in through the zoning change looks like this. If we don't get that level of tenant, who knows?
Well, I know when Savory, Chief Weston and I went before the select board briefly, I think that was just at the very first of the year. Chief Weston revealed many of the things that he was currently actively in negotiation with. So that's public if you want to watch the select board meeting of January 4th. However, that's been refined. Chief Dufley has been in talks. We don't really know. I don't really know what the North Carver Water District is talking about for upgrades.
I mean, would those folks?
But that's if this particular user develops the property.
Right. I want to couch it a little bit, but like, would our chiefs feel comfortable? I know we'd have to ask, but like, would our chiefs feel comfortable even being like putting their support behind a statement that was like, with the level of tenant that the town is trying to attract through the height change, we believe we could get into negotiations for mitigation like X. Without that, we believe that sort of mitigation is off the table, or do we think that's extending too far?
I do know that the chiefs, all of them, are currently in negotiations, and we hope the mitigation agreement is done in the next week to 10 days.
I think you're stepping on toes.
Between all of them. And that would be up to them to reveal.
Alan, what did you say? Stepping on what?
I think that would be stepping on their toes. I think the best thing
we have no intention of doing that.
I think the best thing the RDA can do is the same thing that the FinCom's willing to do, is the same thing that I'm willing to do personally, is talk about the pluses and talk about the minuses, but get the residents to understand that no matter what, come hell or high water, there's going to be a development put in North Carver. There's nothing anyone can do about that. So we either choose plan A, where we have a little bit of control, or Plan B where we get it shoved to us and we have no control. But the bottom line is we're getting a project in North Carver. And there's nothing we can do to change that. Town meeting can't stop it. Nothing can change that. So we need to sell the sizzle.
And we've been talking about that in all along in our working group meetings, that it's not a yes or no vote, it's an A or B vote.
That's right.
And
That's the way it's got to be presented as A or B. What's your preference?
yeah, and I don't know to what extent we may need to go. I don't want it to become a fear factor vote. I'd like people to vote on the benefits as opposed to what they're afraid of. But
I wasn't in favor of this, Saver. You tried to talk me you tried to sell me on this. And that's public knowledge. I mean, I was not in favor of the height until I looked at the whole picture. And we talked like two friends over a beer saying, this is what's going to happen. Which would you rather have? And the common sense won out. And that's the reason why I'm firmly behind the height change, because the common sense wins out and it's better for Carver. And that's got to be the selling point. It's better for Carver.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we're hoping to have our messaging be. And we're just hoping that enough people see it that way.
I hope so too.
But as far as the FinCom goes, is there any, we have no, as chair of the FinCom, I can share the fiscal impact study. Maybe you can read it. But it hasn't been explained to us.
I have a couple of concerns from a financial standpoint, but it affects the entire town, and it's something that I'd like to have a discussion with you, Sharon, kind of like separately, only because there's no need of bringing something that may or may not come to fruition out in the public for more argumentation. I just have a couple of concerns. None of them are detrimental. They kind of go by the division of the tax revenue, and should we have or require that vehicles be registered in this town? I know Middleborough did it with Amazon. They made a small fortune in excise tax, vehicle excise tax.
That was actually one of the first things that Stephen Cole brought up in our first interview.
Well, I had a lunch with Stephen one day, and I brought that up, and obviously there's going to be I would imagine, a relatively large personal property tax angle, and then how much of this all goes into whatever TIF they are asking for. I'm very happy to hear that the mitigation agreement, as far as I'm aware, is excluded from any TIFs, so they can't use that as the leverage. So we have a lot of things going for the town with this developer. But obviously this developer is a businessman, and he's here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to make money. So we understand that. But, the devil we know is better than the one we don't. And I'd much rather work with this developer and see us work with this developer and have it come out as a win-win for the town, based on the hard work you guys are doing, based on Stephen Cole. I have nothing but faith in Stephen. I think he does a great job. I think that Sharon, you're doing a terrific job on this. Saver, you know exactly where you're at with it. Otherwise, we'll sick Joanna Layton on them, and that's not a good thing. And Pat Maha, this isn't your first rodeo.
Yeah,
I don't know you that well.
They're saving me for the end.
That's all right. We send you right out there with the baseball bat.
You can.
Well,
why don't we end this portion? And Alan, I will check in with you first of next week.
Yeah, why don't you do that? I'm off for a couple of weeks. My truck's in the shop getting a facelift, so check with me. I'm available now through probably a week from Friday, and then it's back to the grindstone. I'd love nothing better than to meet with you. We have a FinCom meeting scheduled for the 7th of February. If we have some information you want me to throw on the agenda, I can revise it, and we can run some discussion and numbers by it if you want. But we're going to have probably 3 meetings relatively quickly, because we're planning on a joint meeting with the select board for March 1st, tentatively. Okay. So we'd like to have it wrapped up.
Can I say something to Alan?
Yeah.
Alan, I'm assuming, and I want to think that you're here tonight, not just Alan, but you're here representing the FinCom. And you are interacting with us, sharing. And that I would ask that you go back to FinCom and you share what you've just learned and more.
I already have.
Okay.
I've
And I
done
want-
that with
I'm
several
not done.
members.
And if your members have anything to report back within that body, they report back to you and you rejoin coming to our meeting and sharing that with us so we can get going.
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a great project for the town of Carver. This could end up resulting in between $3 and $4 million a year in tax revenue, plus additional money in personal property tax, plus additional money in excise tax. This could be, if it's handled correct, and I said this to you, Savory, and you agreed, this could be the best thing that's happened in a long time to this town or the worst thing that's happened in a long time to this town, all depending upon how it goes. And I think that the folks in charge, and my hat's off to the RDA. I think you're doing, I think you're working yourselves to death over this thing, and I think you're doing a hell of a job. And I mean that sincerely.
The only one that's going to die first is Savory.
I'm good.
Well, that's all right. We're going to prop him up. It'll be like Weekend at Bernie's.
So Alan, you'll be back.
I will.
You'll be sharing. First you share, then
Yep.
you'll gather. And then once you gather, you return and you keep us in touch. You can be on the Zoom here.
Yeah, we'll do it in committee comments. I'll make a statement and talk about it on committee comments at the meeting. I'll put a place in the agenda for it.
Good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
All right.
And then I'll be
and-
in touch with you next week.
Yeah, and
Right,
if you
and-
can get me a copy of that impact study, just so I have something to look at and see where we're at with it, no matter how difficult it may be to read.
Okay.
Well, we're all going to get a look at it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'll stick you on the list.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Savory, I'll talk to you.
Yes, and
Okay.
also just Joanna, just so you know, I mean, and I think you realize Pat is a member of FinCom too. So
As
We
is
do
my
have a-
husband.
That's
we
correct.
do have, open lines of communication with FinCom and have had
That's
such
right.
through Pat. But I'm not saying that Alan shouldn't come back. I think he should. But, we don't have to wait all the way till next time we see Alan to get information to FinCom. We can
That's
do that. through
absolutely
Pat.
correct. That's right. Now, I also will, can I put on a different hat for a moment, Madam Chair?
You've got 12 seconds.
Wow, you're tough. From the trucking standpoint, the big issue, and I want everyone to be aware of it, is the federal DOT regulations that now, because of GPS and electronic logbooks, a lot of these guys, when they get empty, they cannot legally drive anymore. So this is when you're going to find trucks parked on the side of the road, parked in Aubuchon, parked on the on-ramp. A lot of the distribution centers now have mandates that if you don't have X number of hours, because it could be up to 4 hours to get unloaded, if you don't have the hours to get unloaded and get out of here and go somewhere else, then reschedule your appointment. This is happening more and more and more because the receiving stations, the big warehouses, Amazon, Costco, BJ's, they don't want you overnight. So it's not the truck traffic in general. It's the truck traffic that gets empty and then has no place to go because they legally can't. And that's an issue that can be addressed by the receiver. So just something you guys need to know.
Is that the Department of Transportation?
That's
Can
a
you send-
federal, that's right, that's a federal
Can you send me the sites?
Sure, it's under the Federal Highway Administration Program with the DOT. It's the hours of service regulation based on the electronic logbooks now. And every trucking company has to have electronic logbooks. So the old days of lying on your logbook, back when I used to keep 2 logbooks so that one could always be current, those days are gone. You can't do it anymore. Now the tattletale device that's hardwired into your truck now says when you're moving, when you have to be stopped, and when you can't go anywhere anymore. So these guys pull out of this development, out of this warehouse, and their time is out. They have to find a, quote, safe haven which could be Aubuchon's parking lot. And the caveat to that is we cannot make them move. Once they're shut down and taking their 10-hour break, we legally cannot move them or
But
force them to
I'm
move.
certain they can't park themselves on private property.
You find them all over the place. Walmart will tow you.
Alan, that's really wandering into speculation at this point.
But it isn't, Sharon.
I'll take the site and I will discuss it with Matt, and we will discuss it with the traffic expert.
Walmart forces a tow truck because they can't force the truck to drive away. So they'll get a tow truck to move you off private property.
I just want to point out, Alan, and you're right, we talked about this, and that's exactly true, and it's exactly true whether the bylaw passes or not.
Exactly.
It really has nothing.
That's right. It's the same.
It really has nothing.
You guys go. Have fun. I'm going to have dinner.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, see you, Alan.
I'll see you later.
Thanks. Joanna.
Hello.
What do you got? 94th Street. Let's do it again.
Oh, we're ready to go here. I sent everybody.
No. We got to keep it on the agenda.
You got a what?
We have to keep it on the agenda, Joanna. We can't sell this property.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've tried. It hasn't worked, but it just keeps going up. So Joanna, actually this person contacted me before we were actually talking about listing it with Brenda Titus, and Brenda graciously said, go ahead and go forward, see what that comes of it. And that guy called me back with a cash offer and sent something in writing, and I immediately pushed it off to our real estate expert. And Joanna, you may take the floor.
Okay, so all of you have seen the documents, the contract that he pulled up, not necessarily the P&S, but his way of saying that. His offer to, I want to buy the property, again, with the check made out at first to the town of Carver, but I corrected him and he made out another check to the redevelopment. The third thing I said to him, you need to prove to us that you have the cash to be able to pay that amount. And I said, you need to provide that document as quick as you can, which he did do. You saw that document from Rockland Trust. Tomorrow, I had already sent all this information to Kathleen O'Donnell, and I told her I'd speak with her personally tomorrow to make it all happen and to move it along because of the cash deal and the variance. We want him to get his permits as quick as he can. I also asked Jill to take out those 2 folders in the permitting department to show that there is a well, to show that it has already been perked by Mr. Williams and it passed. And I also shared with Dan, Kevin, what's his name? He's the Board of Health guy, the one that did the
Forg.
Kevin Forg. And I told Dan to go in and speak with Jill directly, and she could direct him. I knew the planner was coming, but I didn't know quite when, but obviously he's here already. And I also said to Dan, I'm looking for plans, and I'll be talking with Savory, because Savory's going to unwind wherever that stack is, Savory. And if he doesn't have anything, I will personally call Morse Engineering. And Dan says, could you get me that contact? Could you get me that contact? And what do you got, buddy?
He's showing the plan.
It's the plan from October of 2015. I do not know if this is the most recent. This is what I have.
Okay.
It does not show a well. It shows the test pits.
Yeah, you know what? I really question all that, but I want to talk to Morse Engineering because prior to you, Savory, coming in, Morse did come and they presented to us, must be 3 and 4 pages. It was a commercial building, spaces, parking spaces, and it just had everything in it. And I said to Dan, I really want to put my hands back on that. And Dan said, if you can get me the contact, he'll pay for it, obviously. And I'm working towards that end. So tomorrow for sure, by Thursday. I want to get all this buttoned up because on his contract, Sharon recommended, and I went along with it to February 4th, which is Friday. So we got to get all this buttoned up to make it sound. Sharon, the onus would be on you to print that out, sign it. Please put your name, comma, chair. We want to know the chair, and just above it is the date and time. You need to put that in as well.
And what I said is we needed to vote on it tonight. And that's
Absolutely.
why he had the date is tomorrow. And I said, hey, you never know how things are going. Can you give me till Friday?
Yeah.
But his offers for $175,000 cash, he bound that with, what was his check for?
8,000.
$8,750. He gave us as a deposit. And the total purchase, $166,250, will be due at the time of the closing. And he didn't give a end date, how long this is good for, did he? Oh,
Yes, he
June-
did.
June 30th. Okay,
June
so he went to
30th,
June 30th
yeah.
again.
Right.
I know that he had spoken to Paul Boucher, the building commissioner, ahead of time and just kind of mapped out his plans. It just seems to be, he runs I believe, an electrical engineering or electrical supply company of some kind.
Right.
And I believe he just wants to build, he said he wanted to build kind of a warehouse for his own stuff and maybe rent out the other side. So,
That's correct. That's correct.
and I advised him to walk it through with Paul Boucher, which he said he did. And I explained the process that if they put the building too close to the setbacks on the page, on the dimensional page, then you're going to have to go through zoning. And that's like a 3-month experience all by itself. So you don't want to do that. So make it fit was my advice to him. And we just need to vote whether to accept this offer.
That's right.
Is there anything you need to add, Joanna?
No.
Okay.
I'll just carry the ball. After that, you send that back.
Yes, you will.
You send that back to Kathleen, and I'll run with it.
So if we agree to the vote, then I'll sign this and I'll scan it and send it right back to Kathleen
That's
tonight.
right.
Okay.
Yep. Super.
So is there a motion to accept the offer by, where's his name? Daniel DeCesare, manager of DK Properties LLC, for $175,000 for, yes, you heard it before, 94th Street.
Oh, move.
So moved by Pat. Is there a second? Was that Paul?
That was Paul. I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay,
made the
Paul.
motion. Paul made the motion. Pat second.
Paul made the motion. Pat seconded it. Will be a roll call vote. Joanna Layton, what do you say?
Joanna Layton says yes.
Pat Maher.
Yes.
Dave Ray.
Avery Moore says yes.
Paul Costas.
Acosta says aye.
And Sharon Clark says aye. That makes it unanimous. So I will
Sharon,
sign
could
this.
Could you spell Daniel's last name for me, please?
Yeah, it's DI capital CESAR. I think. No, E.
DK Properties LLC.
So it's DICESAR? Oh,
DI this is important. DI capital C. ESARE.
E.
Sorry.
And you said it's DK what?
Properties LLC. That's how he signed it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, I will take care of this gladly.
Great. Super.
Between, just to recap, Jack Williams was paying us 150. We got to keep his 5,000, and now it's 175. So good things come to those who wait. And this
Well,
property will be.
It's been advertised with, just bear with
Yeah.
us. The Carver MA dot whatever that website was the trigger. So I said to Brenda, when we entertain a contract with you, I need to repost on that website. And I want to continue to do that. And she said, fantastic. And I said, but I'm not going to be able to talk about you. I'm going to talk about me. So I am rda.contact@carverma.gov. And so Susan, you need to correct that on the minutes. When we get to the minutes, I'll tell you about that.
I don't
Okay.
understand what I need to correct.
The minutes, you had the email, you had the address wrong.
Oh, sorry, on the minutes that we're going to talk about. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Don't wait. All right, then and our next step will be to get a PNS from Kathleen O'Donnell, and for which we will have to vote on that I sign again, and I'll send it right back to her, and he has to sign it. I've spoken with Jill Martin, and she has kindly offered to be our go-between at the building department so that I can drop things off for her. She's offered to take over the agenda, which I think, I'm working on a new skill here, so I think I may just hang on to that. But we'll use her as a go-between. So when we get to that point, I'll drop it off there. He can pick it up and sign it. And it's just easy that way.
Yeah, because I called her up and I said, I really need you to do me a favor. Can you PDF these documents? And I told her how I wanted them done. Oh yeah, no problem. My God, 10 minutes, I already had the documents. And she said, Jesus, Joanna, we're here to help you. And I go, okay.
Yeah, I had some conversation with her about that too.
Yeah.
So has there been anything further on the Roberts Way tax title?
No, but I called I have to call not Shelby, but Elaine. I just want to make sure that the article, as she changed it, I want to see a copy of it. And it's going to supposedly go through the town meeting. I don't know when the select board looks at it or what they do. I was also interested in talking with Kathy Kay because she's going to have some more properties. And she told me that she is not ready. And she also told me we have an interim planner.
Yep.
I'm going to be a little tongue in cheek. Everybody
Mr.
wants
Bott,
to be.
he's right there.
Well, Mr. Bott, I don't want you to be interim. I want you to be permanent. That's what he said. So I had the pleasure of telling him that, I guess. Anyway, so she's not ready, and she's anxious. When she does, she'll be notifying everybody, including myself as well as Mr. Bott and others.
I'm hoping she's not ready till after town meeting.
Oh, I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure that
will work out just dandy.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case.
That check that we're holding from Daniel.
It's going to stay. I'm going to ask Kathy Kay, in real estate, you hurry up and cash these checks because you want to make sure they're not going to bounce, but this is a little bit different. And Jill has the check and it gets locked up.
Is that something that should go to Pat?
Yes, if we're going to deposit, I'll ask Kathleen O'Donnell tomorrow. If she says go ahead and deposit based on the PNS that she creates, I'll just call Pat up. I have his number, and he can go in and get it and put it in our checking account.
Yeah. Okay. And again, when we get to, if we get this one to closing, it'll operate under the MOU that we drafted last year
absolutely.
With the select board, and every penny that's been spent on that property in the last 10 years.
I'll be back there in that office retallying just about anything and everything.
And that includes the legal bills.
That's correct. All
right. Is there anything else?
I don't have any.
We can go to the minutes.
Yep.
And once again, I have to thank Sue Hannon for slogging through. She says it was, just under 10 hours. I don't believe her. In my world, that would have been about 5 days work. But our minutes are up to date. They're uploaded at a critical time, and I cannot thank her enough. She provided us with an invoice. I believe Pat said he'd cut the check, so that was taken care of. And I, on behalf of the entire RDA, but mostly me, I thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
So we have the minutes for January 18th. Can't believe we're like right up to date now. This is so great. Has everyone had a chance to read through them?
Yes, I just have one I have one change. I kind of opened that door already. Under the update on listing of 90 Forest Street status, Susan, you put in the email address is rda contact@carverma.gov, G-O-V.
Oh, it should be .gov.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I will fix that.
Is that a different email server?
Yeah, no, it comes to me. I gave up my Carver MA, J. Layton. I gave it up and
But aren't those .org?
yeah, I gave it up.
You said .gov.
But you said you wanted it changed to .gov.
No, mine is .org. Don't get confused. I'm old and so isn't my email address because I've been on the committee for so effing long. And what happened is Shelby got mixed up. So I have to call Shelby tomorrow and make sure, because they have a little conversion. Whoever takes care of the network has a conversion when it comes in. It should be .gov.
Really?
They convert it to the .org, so I get the email. We've already done this and it works great. It works.
Okay, great. So is there any further discussion on the minutes? Is there a motion to accept them with that one minor change?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says yes.
Pat Maher,
Yes.
Savory Moore.
Savory,
He,
you.
he
Frozen
froze,
here.
but I think
Oh, there he
said-
is.
There he is.
There I am. Okay.
He froze in the middle of what I believe was a yes. Paul
Ah,
Costas,
Yeah, Paul Costa says yes.
Sharon Clark says yes, it is unanimous. You may make that change and you may post them as
Will do.
accepted. Thank you. It's almost like you're right here. All right, members' comments. Anyone have anything? Paul, do you have anything you need to say or
I do.
what's up?
I just want to thank everybody. And I'm glad, what's his name? Alan Germain came. And Pat, there's no reflection on you. He's the man with the mouth. He's the
Well-
chairperson. By that, I mean, he's the chairperson.
He's been called a lot of things, so that's okay.
I think you would have said the man with the mouthpiece, but
But
either way.
either way. And I hope he does go back. And Pat, you can attest to what I asked him to do. And he can come back and give us
He will
any.
do it. He will absolutely do it. Yes.
Okay. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. Savory, if you were on, you've done, I don't know, gazillion percent, whatever. But I want to tell you that we are a committee. And I told this to Jill. I said, we're all professionals in our own right. We have our own talents, but we're unified together as a group. And I hope we continue to stay this way. If you tell everybody at town meeting or even now, you tell everybody the truth, just the way you've been explaining everything, it's going to win. It's going to be there. It'll be there. That's the important part. Traffic, I'm going to be on it. I want to stay close. I want to stay close to that, Savory. Please, if I can attend any of these hearings or whatever, I truly want to. That's really a big time problem with me. I live here and I know how bad it is to cross over. And it really needs to be rectified. We didn't need to have a distribution center. This is long overdue.
Well, the traffic's going to be fixed at some point. The real question is who paid for it.
And when I said Paul, I meant Paul Kelly, because Paul Costas is always free to speak as a member, but just in case Paul Kelly had anything he needed to add.
I'll talk with stuff on Savory back and forth at inside baseball stuff.
Yeah, I gotta try out the Cooperstown plan, so.
Good for you. One thing I forgot earlier, and it's just very brief, is that when the website does go live, we have a Facebook page ready to go to.
Oh, good.
And it's going to be the North Carver Project Facebook page. And basically, it's just going to be a place where people can ask questions if they want to, along with the link on the website to a question form that they can send in. But more than that, it's going to be a place where when there are comments on the other Carver sites, the reply to those comments will come from the North Carver Project Facebook page, directing them to the website. So it's not coming from anyone's personal page. The answer will come from the project. Go to the website to get your answer.
Very good.
And that's going to go live.
Who's the moderator for that?
It's being done through, it's the administrator it's being done through consensus, but I'm going to try to get it so that all 5 of us can have the administrator function.
Okay.
But that's going to go live when the website goes live. It's ready to go right now, but there's no sense in putting it out there until we have the website ready.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yep.
Anyone else?
I want to give a quick treasurer report, update. I didn't do I didn't reconcile the monthly statement yet. It just ended yesterday. So, but everything is in good shape. Everybody all bills are paid. Everything is up to date. Just one thing though was that I was just ready to do a reimbursement to Hillwood, and all of a sudden this check shows up. Okay, and I have no idea how it got here. It was for not even a round number, 8,000 and some change from Hillwood to us, right, to go into that account and so forth. So I deposited it, and I didn't ask for it, and now I don't have to do a reimbursement for a while, but I don't know how it got here.
Maybe they bought Forest Street.
But, yeah, well, don't worry. Forest Street's not going to happen anyway, so it just can't.
Hey,
Hey, wait a minute. Watch it.
For my own comments, I had to do an annual report for the RDA, and which was due yesterday, which surprisingly I got it in on time. I was not part of the Shelby Roy, hey, where's your stuff email today.
I was, but not for this.
But the town planner generally does them so
Yeah.
Jim did it last year. I had Jim's little 2-paragraph template that he used, and I kind of updated it. I didn't include like the Mass Works grant because that really wasn't under our auspices. We talk about it a lot, but it really wasn't ours. So it's just a very brief, hey, we've been meeting, we've been working hard kind of thing. But I did turn it in on time. Anything else?
No.
Would we like to set the next meeting?
Okay.
2 weeks from tonight, right? February 15th?
Yep, that'll be a week after the working group. So if Savory and or me and or Pat can go to the working group, if maybe we can circulate some kind of an update of that, if there's anything that we need to get on before the next meeting. And if the launch of the website goes live, then we'll know in between, right? I've been going through it. I like it.
Yeah, if I think everyone has the link to it, so you can take a look at it. It's close.
Yeah.
It's just all that's left is the
Could you send me the link again? I don't know I think I just deleted so many emails. Would you mind sending me the link again, Paul?
It's easy. It's carverrda.info.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Hold on.
carverrda.info.
Sharon, is the 15th going to be a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting?
Cases
What do you
were
guys
down to-
think?
The cases were way down today. Yesterday's cases were half of what they were last Monday. Today, there were under 3,000 new cases. 2 weeks ago, there were 22,000. So it's dropping like a rock.
It is. It's good.
I'm willing,
Yeah, it
I'm
is
willing
good.
to go. I mean, they have a mask recommendation so that'll be your choice. But yeah, we'll go back. I'll try and book room 4.
Okay, just as a point of reference, I also have a Board of Health meeting that night, so I may be a little bit late, but it typically doesn't go too much over an hour, so.
And do you know where they're meeting?
We usually go to room 3.
Okay. So it'll be a short walk.
You could sit in the hall and do both.
All right, we'll return to live meetings, and maybe if there's anybody who wants to come in and give us an update, they might feel more comfortable being there in person anyway.
Okay, so it's the 15th?
It's the 15th at 6:00,
Okay.
and I will post that. So if you have any agenda suggestions, let me know.
So that's room 4, you said?
Yeah, downstairs.
The one we
Mr.
were
Guy?
in before. The ones we were in before, right?
It's the basement room.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to check the meeting calendar to see if we can get upstairs with the plexiglass. I wouldn't mind, but we'll have to see. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I will take a roll call vote. Joanna Layton to adjourn.
Joanna Layton says yes.
Pat Maher.
Yes.
Where am I? Savory Moore.
Savory Moore says aye.
Paul Costas.
Paul Costa says, I am hungry.
Sharon Clark says aye, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric.
Great. Thanks. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe.